People living in small towns. What's the recent scandal? Okay, so our last mayor decided to not run this year because he's been in the news a lot for threatening to kill his neighbor's dog, as well as just threatening the neighbor in general. Wasn't faring well for him. So a friend of his who was a very well-known socialite and realtor decided to run in his place. Well, my city is sort of small, and the people who have lived here a while would like to keep the houses from being built pretty much on top of each other. So she quickly found herself opposed, with the competition's platform built around preserving the natural land we have left and dumping old, earmarked projects that were planned literally 20 years ago that no one wants anymore. Surprisingly, yet not surprisingly, her opponent won. And right after the opponent took office, she began pushing through decades-old earmarked land sales and making new land sale negotiations, the exact opposite of her platform, like mayor just means honorary realtor or something. People very much badly want her head on a platter. The population here is completely furious. To give further info, in my small town, population of 41,000. That includes kids. The city's main FB page, run by the socialite, only accepts adult residents of the city into the group, and the last I checked, there are about 35,000 members. Another example of how small it is here, someone a very long time ago dumped a flock of chickens in the middle of downtown. According to the stories, an old guy had a lot of chickens, and, when he died, his son inherited everything, including the birds. He didn't want to keep the chickens, so instead of selling them, he just figured if he dumped them off in the middle of downtown, they'd be scooped up or eliminated. What ended up happening, though, is that the town weirdly rallied around these abandoned chickens. No one takes them in. They're allowed to roam wherever they want, the outsides of restaurants, the post office, the library, schools, etc. Vets do chicken checkups pro bono, and people will absolutely lose their freaking minds if someone doesn't always respect the chicken. It's kinda odd. There are chicken souvenir everything all over the place, even though literally no one comes here to visit if they don't already know someone here, so they pretty much already have their chicken swag. Update: a lot of people have been asking the name of this city, and I have loved seeing that there are so many other cities and towns where being a chicken is a good thing. It makes me giggle so much that other people experience these quirks. The name of this city is Oviedo, Florida. It's about 20 minutes north of Orlando. Someone keeps throwing slices of cheese on cars in the next town over. The neighborhood Facebook page is in an uproar. Our townspeople are being vigilant that they don't bring their fuckery to our town. Bit of a rivalry between towns. Ours is your typical suburbia, this is more rural, and the people are referred to as pioneers. I follow it all for amusement. A local police department likes to post wanted pictures on its Facebook page. The other day, I saw one of their shitty wanted postings of some woman who is allegedly evading police for drug charges and intent to distribute. The suspect herself commented on the post and said, "I'm not evading, I'm not on the run, I've been out of town, and when I come back I'm turning myself in." Maybe not a scandal, but I thought that was pretty funny. My grandparents' small town has had a recent outbreak of teenagers riding horses through the middle of downtown while wearing nothing but face masks. It has happened a total of 3 times now, always different kids, always different horses. The biggest that I know of was a bully and overall bad guy from school that I sat next to in art class and tried to help in. It was arrested for murdering a 20-year-old girl during a drug deal. He was going to buy weed off her, but decided to shoot her, later stating he wanted to know what it felt like to kill somebody. She didn't die right away either. He and a buddy of his, drove around for 2 hours in her car while she slowly suffered, and if they had taken her to a hospital she would have likely lived. He was 17 at the time, I believe. Was a couple years ago, but not much really happens here, thankfully. We have a tourist train, runs from town A to town B. It was a particularly dry summer and the train started a fire that spread over 75,000 acres. The town is now suing the train station for loss of income, as we are a tourist town and our income is solely based off of tourism, and no one wants to go to a smoky town in Colorado. I'm not sure of the exact number, but I think it's in the ballpark of tens of millions of dollars. My grandfather comes from a small town with less than 5k people, and it is kind of spread around into smaller districts. So essentially his district has about 500 people and the bakery turns into a bar at night. I grew up going there at least twice a month until I was 14, and once a month until I moved abroad for a while. Despite being such a small town, and greeting the mayor who was the local butcher every time my family needed to buy something, the butcher shop was also the second biggest market in town. We had big town issues. One of the biggest issues was corruption, and since the town planned on expanding, was building a new public school and whatnot, they got some extra funds from the state. Our friendly butcher/mayor decided to crack down on the folks that were stealing public money, and he ended up being shot to death by two men in a motorcycle in front of his 6-year-old while they played in a park near one of the main squares. I was in town that weekend and everyone was instructed to lock all windows and doors since the two men weren't caught. All lights were out by 7 p.m. and I could not think of a more terrifying evening or my time spent there, with the exception of when 3 years later a jaguar decided to visit me at midnight in the little bedroom outside the main farmhouse. I left my small town years ago, but I was home over Thanksgiving and got an earful. The local grocery store was renovated/expanded after 30 years and now everything's moved and you can't find nothing. I was home for 4 days and literally every new social interaction with people in town involved the goddamn grocery store and how awful it is now. Spoiler, it actually looks quite nice, and they hang signs over the aisles telling you where things are. You know, like a grocery store. Girls from my small town have taken to Twitter recently to expose a pretty well-known guy in town. He is notoriously known for being a player and messing around with girls on a daily. He is also known for stealing and being racist at times. We'll call him Martin. One girl started a massive chain effect by tweeting out pictures of Martin and her texts with him where he uses the N-word. He is incredibly white, so big no-no. Another girl chimed in by saying that Martin also posed as her uncle's son when her uncle was dying in the hospital in order to steal his wallet and all his belongings. Then another girl added on by tweeting that Martin also harasses girls at parties and over the internet, including her. Over 50 girls messaged her, recounting their stories with Martin. 16 girls came forward to say that he raped them. Only 2 of them went to court. Martin won both times due to lack of evidence. There weren't even rape kits performed on these girls who went straight to the police. So these girls are posting on social media to raise awareness and to get something done about this guy. You can see his overdue karma is clearly coming. So many people in my small town have spoken up about it, but there's also a lot of people making excuses for him and blaming the girls who are making a stand, saying they are chasing clout. Kinda hard to watch, but I'm glad that something is being done about it instead of just silence. Update: Martin originally deleted all of his social media platforms once his name started to blow up, but posted on Instagram for the first time last night. His response to all this? A GIF that says, "Cool story bro." A local dude got sent to a maximum security prison for breaking into his own house. Granted, it was condemned, and that was his fault because drugs. But still, dude needed a place to sleep. It was like 10 degrees. He needed to be taken into custody, but Rehab would have been a better place for him. It was his second or third brush with local cops, so they went pretty hard on him. His whole life has been one shit show after another, and IDK if anyone could help him at this point, but it just doesn't seem humane to send a guy to the pen for needing a warm place to sleep. A couple months ago someone left their fire pit in their driveway for a few days. They received a mailed letter from an anonymous neighbor shaming them for making the neighborhood look bad. The recipient then posted the letter on the town's Facebook page. People ran with it and created the first annual front yard fire night. Our city council just voted to give themselves a 103% raise. Edit: for reference, the pay is low mid 20k currently. The raise puts the pay at 52k. The support is that more people will be able to get into office with the higher pay, and wages were stagnant from many years ago. So instead of the gradual pay increase over those years with cost of living, it's been adjusted to the current market today, resulting in a significant jump. The overall trend from opposers is that they were blindsided and didn't get to vote on it like the last mayor said should happen. The town went with the lowest bidder for a big roadwork contract, and it turns out they were totally unqualified for the job and were messing stuff up. So the town fired them and hired the second lowest bidder. Same thing. They're on their third contractor now IRC, and the project, which was supposed to be done this summer, will hopefully be finished sometime next year. Thanks for watching this video. If you already subscribed, thank you very much. Public daily new videos, you can check previous videos.